client-side controller. In the MVC model, already we discussed the MVC model of the Lightning application. In the Lightning application, on the client side, we have a controller, we have a view, and we have a data. Now, view is created using components or HTML. Then client-side controller is created using JavaScript. Client-side database is also created using JavaScript. Now we are trying to understand how to interact with a component with events. When an event occurs on any component, when event occurs on any one of the element in the component, how the controller is invoked. I repeat the point. When event occur on any one of the element in the component, how the controller is invoked, how the actions are performed, we are supposed to understand. So let me give you this example. Client-side controller. Client-side controller is defined using JavaScript. Everyone listen. You can copy the notes from the account. Everyone listen. Client-side controller is defined using JavaScript. When any event occurs on the component, when any events occur on the component, on actions will be invoked. Corresponding client-side controller is invoked. Now, what type of events are there? All the events are going to be on action events. When I say on action events, what are they? On click, on change, on click. Click is an action. On change, on focus, on blur, so on. When on action occurs on the element, corresponding client side controller is going to be invoked. And what is that client side controller? It is a JavaScript. When you are defining a client side controllers are defined specific to component. Every component is going to have corresponding client side controller. It is not for the entire application. It is for a component specific. With respect to every component, we are going to define corresponding client side controller. Every component is going to have its corresponding client side controller. So every component will have corresponding client side controller. Now, how do you recognize it? How the naming convention is going to be? Look at the format. How do you create a component? New Lightning component. Client side controller example 1. It's too lengthy, right? Client side controller 1. Client side controller 1. Name of the component is client side controller 1. Now we are finding here component. Below the component, what we are finding? Controller. When I create a controller, now look at the point. Controllers, one controller. So after the component name, controller.js will be appended. If the component name is ABC, corresponding controller is going to be ABC controller.js. JS is a JavaScript file. If the name of the component is XYZ, it is XYZ controller.js. I hope you are good with this. Okay. Now look at this. If the component name is ABC, then corresponding ABC. Now, the moment I say JavaScript, it is what? Case sensitive. It doesn't have a compiler. It is a case sensitive. It doesn't have a compiler and it's a case sensitive. Now, the biggest drawback of this is the scripting. Now, let me make it a quick point. Initially, today, every one of you are using Apex programming and Visualforce programming. But when I started my career on Salesforce, we don't have Visualforce. Now, when I started my career on the Salesforce, 6.5 years back on Salesforce, it was S controllers which we used to use, which is right now you are calling as Ajax controllers. S4's Ajax toolkit, S4's.connection.query, S4's.connection.create, S4's.connection.update. Am I right? Now we are using the same thing we used to use when we started the initial career in the Salesforce. That time everything was implemented with the scripting. Then they may have simplified the process. They brought a component level and designed a Visualforce. Then there's a lot of enhancements came. Today we have a very rich framework with Visualforce. Similarly, Lightning has started with the scripting format. We have a lot of scripting now. Now the Salesforce is slightly migrating this, avoiding this Lightning, avoiding the scripting and CSS, and defining predefined components for you. Well-defined CSS and scripting events on the components is coming as a predefined functionalities in the Lightning. Slowly it is upgrading. Probably in a year or 1.5 years or 2 years, you find the Lightning just like your Visualforce. And you'll be skipping off the process of your scripting. Now we are going with the scripting, but slowly the process of the scripting is eliminating. They're trying to eliminate the process of scripting. But till that process is achieved, you are supposed to take the hardness of the Salesforce. So coming batches will have soft corner, right? You are supposed to learn all that scripting format. The basic point I told you, it doesn't have compiler. Now each and everything we need to bug it line by line. So unit testing need to be performed to track what is happening and where is the bug, right? So JavaScript is a case sensitive, doesn't have a compiler. In case you want to bug it, debug it, you have to go for unit testing by keeping checkpoints. Now, wherever there is a modification you are doing, you are supposed to create a checkpoints and cross-check the programmatical implementation. Okay, fine. Now, when you are defining a client-side controller, how it is defined? Look at this syntax. Function. Now we have function name colon function component event this is the syntax. Function name function component event helper. So how many parameters we have in the client side controller? 3 parameters. What are the 3 parameters? Component, event, helper. Now for a component, JavaScript is created. Now for which component the scripting is running? What is the first parameter we have? The first parameter is parameter 1 component. What is this component? On which component this scripting action is fired? This client side controller is defined on which component. When I click on a button in the component, it is calling a client side controller. Component on which this event fired. Component on which this event fired. That component is referred with the first attribute, which is called component. It is not a fixed name. I have taken the variable name. In the JavaScript, how do you pass the parameters? If I have a JavaScript function, the JavaScript function, how do you pass the parameter? How do you pass? Function name, parameters. Function name, parameters. In example, I am taking show function, show. How you define? Name, age. You will not define the data type. What are these? Input parameter types. Here also, these are parameter types. To specify what I am referring, I have taken as a component event helper. But later on, if you want to change your names, you can define it. Now they are variable names. To be simple, they are the parameters. Now when you say parameter, you can define your own name. Instead of component, I can give ABC. Instead of component, I can say ABC. In the whatever you pass in the first position, it is a component. The component on which the event fired, component on which event fired, that is referred by parameter 1. Parameter 2. Parameter 2. Event fired. What is the event fired? Which action is fired? Which action is fired? On action. On action. Which action fired? Which action fired? I will get through event. Helper. Boss, I have a functionality. Let us say, look at the point. I have void show. General Apex programming. Understand this. Now, similarly, I have void call. Right. Now, why to define twice? Why to define twice? What I can do, I can define this as a void invoke. Whatever the common code is there, if you are using the same functionality again and again, I can simply say invoke. Will it perform the same action? Whatever I have given previously, now it will perform same action, right? So what we have done, if any statements are, if any commonly used functionality is there, if any commonly used functionality is there, why should I write it again and again? I can simplify by putting them in a separate action, invoke that action. Right? The same process in the Lightning client-side controller, we are going to call as helper method. Now, invoke will become a what? Helper method. Invoke will become what? Helper method. So, what is that? If frequently used functionality is there, same type of action we are going to use multiple number of times. Instead of writing that logic again and again, define them like a helper function and invoke that helper function within a to reduce the length of the code. I hope you got my point. So that is parameter 3. So parameter 1 is component on which I am firing. Number 2, action that is fired. Number 3, in case if any helper, it is an optional. It is not mandatory that always you have common functionality. In case if you have any common functionality, that is handled by helper. In case if there is any common functionality, that is handled by helper. I hope you are good with this. People have achieved this functionality. Am I clear? Okay. To be more specific, let us see our standard documentation. Right. So in this, what is the component? Component to which the controller belongs to. For which component this client-side controller belongs to, or the component on which this client-side controller is defined. Event that the action is handling. Event that is handling this action. When an action happened, on action. When the action happened, that action is handled by this event. Then helper, what is that? Is an option. Then reusable code, in case if there is any reusable scripting, then we can put it on helper. I hope you are good with this. I hope you are good with this. Okay. Now let us see this. Now I'll define here. Everyone has followed, everyone has followed this. Okay. Parameter 1, component. This will specify, this will refer to component on which this controller is defined, or defined. Second, parameter 2, event. This will refer to, this will handle the action that is referred on the component. Helper. Param 3. This is an optional parameter. Optional parameter. In case if you have any reusable code that is referred as helper. Right, boss? Parameter 1, parameter 2, parameter 3. I need to specify note. JavaScript is a case sensitive. JavaScript doesn't have a compiler. JavaScript is a interpreted. It's not a compiled language, it's an interpreted language. This is the format. Now, how you define now? So you need to understand. If you understand the format clearly, every action we are invoking, this is an action. In this, we want to define our functionality, which is a scope. Floor bracket scope. Now, this is a function, right? This is a client set in which I am defining. Now, here you are going to do function name, colon, function, component, event. Again, I'll define it one more time. Look at the structure what I'm defining. Function in which the function scope, function in which we are giving a parameters, the parameter. Here, function name, function, component, event, helper. Now what I can do, can I break it properly? If I break it properly, how it will be? So what is this? Opening, closing, opening, closing. Then function name, function, component, event, helper. What is the action that should be performed? This is how you are supposed to define client-side controller. Function name, function, component, event, helper, and the logic will be defined. I hope you are good with this. Okay. Now let us go back. So when is this client-side controller is invoked? client side controller is invoked when a event occurs on the component. When an event occurs on the component. So look at this. Right. So what is this? My action, function, component, event, helper. This is .js. I hope you are good with this. Okay. Now let us go back. Till here everyone is good, right? Okay. Now understand a simple example. Whenever we are calling a Apex class in the VF page, I have defined like this. Now, in the VF page, I have defined like this. What was that? In the VF page, Apex colon page controller equal to my class. Now, when this class is loading, what will happen, boss? Whenever the Visualforce page is loading, what will happen? First, it will go to the class, run the constructor, getter methods and setter methods, then the action, then the VF page will be loaded. Am I right? When you are calling a VF page, how it will run? First up, when you are calling a page, first it will go to controller. If any constructor is there, constructor will run. After running the constructor, setter methods and getter methods will, after running the constructor, what will happen? Action will run. After running the action, setter methods and getter methods. Am I right or no? VF page, first the constructor, action, setters and getters. Similarly, when I am loading a URA component, URA component, first URA handler will be called. When you are loading a VF page, how controller constructor is called? Similarly, when you are loading a component, in case if there is any URA handler, first the URA handler will run. After URA handler, component data will be loaded. So it is like a constructor for you. Previously, when you are loading a VF page, constructor, then getters and setters. Similarly, when you are loading a component, in case it is not mandatory that it will have a URA handler. In case if URA handler is there, if any URA handler is there, then URA handler will be called, then component will be loaded. I hope you got my point. So it is taking a role of what? Constructor. It is taking a role of constructor. I hope you are good with this. Clear? Okay. Now let me define URA handler. Listen carefully. First I will give the example, then we go for understanding the theoretical format. Handler example 1. Then I am giving URA handler name equal to this, value equal to this, action. When this is loading, C control client side, C dot show. URA handler name equal to initialization, value equal to this particular component. Action, when you are loading the URA, when they are loading the component, handle is action of show. First complete the action of show, then call this. Then what is this? I have to go to When you go to controller, what is the name of the method? So when the component is loaded, it is going to call the show function first. If the function is completed, then the component will be loaded. In the show function, what I am doing? Now, in the Apex programming, if you want to debug, what we are doing? System.debug we are giving. So that we can go to log file and check whether functionality is running properly or not. If you want to debug, we used to define system.debug. We used to go to the log file, check the value of system.debug. Similarly, in the lightning component, if you want to test it, then we are supposed to give console.log. I am printing the message on console. So when the component is loaded, automatically it is going to call handler. Handler will call show function. Then show function will be running. Now, can I run the component straight away? No. So in the basic cases, in the basic examples, we will not be able to run directly. So what I will be doing? Now go to this lightning application. Right. So how do you refer to the component? C colon. Right. Then click on preview. Because I am not printing anything, you get a blank page. Okay. Give a right click. Give a right click. Then what we have? Inspect. I already installed a plugin, so you are finding lightning component. Just click on inspect. Then what are you finding here? Console. Now, whatever the console.log you have given, you will be finding here. Right? So why this data is getting printed? Because that action is called. Why that action is called? Because you have used URA handler. When that URA handler is called, whenever we invoke a component, in case if any URA handler is there, that will be automatically invoked, perform the action, then the content of the component will be loaded. Right. So when the application is calling a component, it has a URA handler. URA handler called the client side controller. That is how we got the data called. This is line 1 and this is line 2. I hope you are good with this example. Right. Clear about this? So whatever the action your constructor is performing, same type of action is performed by URA handler in your component. Right? Constructor is a server side operation. On the client side, URA handler is invoking client side controller. That Apex class is a server side controller. Now what we want? Client side controller to be invoked. That is how I give URA handler. Name equal to init. Init is a event type. You can call it as a event initialization. Okay. Now, how you define this? Let me quickly give the critical information. Everyone has followed this? Right. So let us go back to this.
Satish, one query.
First, reduce your volume in the system. We are wearing headsets. Please reduce your volume.
Is that fine now?
Reduce it. We are wearing the headset. We cannot bear this volume.
No, Satish?
Please reduce it. Okay.
Okay. Is this handler is like using for to populate the default values as we use for the constructor?
Yeah, whatever the initialization we want to perform, the same thing will be done here.
Okay.
Now,
Thank you.
URA handler. This is a predefined component in the light. This component is component will automatically invoked when a component is called. This will be automatically fired when a component is invoked. If the component has a URA handler defined in it, first URA handler action will be performed. Action is performed. Then content of the body of the component is loaded. Then the body of the component. So if the component has URA handler defined in it, first URA handler action is performed, then the body of the component is loaded. This is used to perform initialization action. Initialization action. When you say initialization, doesn't mean only assigning the values of a variable. It can be anything. Right. So if you look at the standard properties, let me define. What is the component we had? URA. Look at this. In the URA handler, now we are going for a URA handler. Where was that? Yeah. Name of it, then value equal to this. This is for initialization. As we have used this for initialization, we have URA handler, name, and event. Down the line, we will also see how to define the URA handler for invoking the events. At this level, we are only understanding how to initialize, how to invoke yourself when the component is loaded. Right. So let us see this. Let us see. Let us define this. URA handler. When you say URA handler, what are the elements we have in it? First, name equal to first name. This is set as init. This is set as init. Initialization. Then value. What is this value? Value. This is set as this. Action. This will refer to the action. That is performed, that need to be invoked. This will refer to the action that need to be invoked when a component is loaded. Right. URA handler, name, value, action. I hope you are good with this. Right. So how do you define it? Let me show you a quick example what we have designed. Then we had application. What is the application we have created? Right, boss? Now we get into the main topic now. This is how we have defined. Now let us understand the concept. Now I am going to define a component with a few attributes. The values of these attributes I want to set using a client-side controller. I want to create a component with a group of attributes. Now the values of these attributes I want to initialize using a handler. Now let us look at the format. How to invoke the attributes within the client-side controller. In the handler, I want to set the value, I want to get the value. So we want to understand how to read the value of an attribute, how to set a value of an attribute. In the Visualforce, you have a setter method and getter method. Right? Now, how are you retrieving the value of an attribute? How are you setting the value of an attribute using client-side control? That is the next example. Look at the format. I hope you are clear with this topic till here. Right? Okay. Let us come back here. What is the next concept here? Reading, setting, getting values of attribute. Attribute values using too long name. Okay. Attribute values. Right. Setting attribute value from setting attribute values from client-side control. Look at the format. How do you set attribute values from client-side controller? Look at the point. If my attribute is Yura, attribute name is EMP name, type, this is the attribute what I have. I want to read the value of this attribute or set the value of this attribute. How do you set the value? If you want to set it in the client-side controller, component dot, we already gave function component event helper, component dot set, v dot attribute values are referred with what? V dot, what is the name of the attribute? EMP. So how I'm giving? Component dot set v dot salary, component dot set v dot age. I hope you are good with this. So how we are setting? Component dot set v dot attribute name comma value. Component dot get, component dot set v dot attribute name comma value. The same if you want to get the value. Getting the attribute values from getting the attribute values from the client side controller. Now here we have, if attribute is EMP name, if this is the attribute, component dot get component dot get v dot component dot get v dot. Now we are getting, so it has to be saved to a variable. How the variables in the JavaScript are defined? Where salary equal to component get v dot, where date of birth equal to component dot get v dot. So set get from the client side component, from the client side controller, if you want to refer set and get. From the client side controller, if you want to get or set, then we are supposed to use component dot get, component dot set. I hope you are good with this. Okay. Now let us go back to this. Right. Look at the format. Lightning component. So here we are defining your attribute name equal to EMP name, type equal to attribute name equal to salary, type equal to attribute name equal to experience, type equal to the attribute name equal to bonus, type equal to. So this is how we define. Now I want to give div salary case sensitive. This is how we have given name, salary, experience, bonus. This is how we have given. Now I am giving your name equal to init, value equal to this, action equal to invoke. This is how we have defined. Now how you are supposed to do? Control. When you say controller, invoke. Now I want to see where salary equal to component dot get v dot where experience equal to component dot get v dot experience. Then where bonus equal to, I can write a logic. If experience is greater than 5 years, bonus equal to salary into 30%. Now we are calculating the value. Then we want to set. How do you set it? Component dot set v dot bonus b capital small bonus. This is how I am giving. Now I am giving here console dot log because it is scripting. As I told you, it doesn't have any compiler. It's better to pull your console dot logs to cross check the values. This is how I define. Anyone has any query on this point? Everyone is good with this? Right, boss? Now the console.log is only for just like your system.debug to check in the log file. That's all. Now this component should be invoked. This component should be invoked within a application. Now I am going for lightning application. EMP name, Seshmela, salary 10,000, experience. Generally, you are supposed to maintain lower camel for the attribute names. I gave it capital E, but you are supposed to maintain lower camel. So I have invoked the component. And I told EMP name is Satish, salary is 10,000 and experience 7. Then run the component. When you run the application, right, what was that? Invoke is not defined. Why invoke is not defined? Go to the client side. Line number 5. Component spelling where? Line number initialize. Component said bonus. We had bonus. Attribute what is not defined? We have given a bonus where bonus not defined. Okay. People are at very expensive level. Right, okay. So go back. So this is how we are getting Satish 10,000 7 bonus. Why the bonus is not coming here? Component b dot bonus. B dot bonus. Now go to the component. Now there is a bug here. You are not able to find the bonus value. So what I do? Inspect console. So what is the value we have? Salary, and we get bonus equal to 3000. So this value is not coming to the component. So why it is not coming? Look at this. Component dot set v dot bonus comma. I gave a plus here, it is a comma. Okay. Go back, have a preview. This is how we have the values. Right? So we are testing by using what? Console. Right, boss? I hope you are good with this. So reading the values, setting the values by using client-side controller. Component dot get v dot attribute name, comma, component dot get v dot attribute name. Component dot set v dot attribute name, comma, value. I hope you are clear with this example. Everyone is good with this example? Okay. So let us try one example. Everyone, create a component. All of you, create a component which will take amount, years, rate as attribute. Create a client-side controller which will calculate interest. So create a component with the following attributes and handler. Handler. So when the handler is called, client-side controller is invoked. That client-side controller is going to calculate the value of interest. This component. Now first component I am creating. Raw component. So within the raw component, I was supposed to go with attribute, name, amount, type, name, rate of interest, type, the attribute, name, years, type. Your attribute name should be in the form of lower camel. Name, then what we have? Interest. Then we are giving URA handler, name, value, this, action, this is how we define. Then we are giving some structure to define the how we refer p dot right? Then we had interest. So this is how we have defined. Then we are supposed to define a controller. How you define a controller? What is the controller we are supposed to define? Invoke function component. Helper is optional. Helper is optional. Now I'm not giving any helper now. Then what I'm doing here? Component event. Now we are trying to read where amount equal to component dot get v dot v dot rate. Then I'm giving where interest equal to component dot set v dot interest. This is how we have defined the component. I hope you are good with this. Now what is a good practice? Whichever the values you are fetching or calculating, better you put on console dot, because it doesn't have a compiler, it is easy for you to track the bugs. For tracking the errors, it will be easy. Otherwise, you find it difficult. Everyone is good with this example? Right. Now, how do you invoke it? Name of the component is interest calci. Application. Then we are giving C colon amount equal to this is how we have defined. So everybody is good with this example? Okay. Now, what did you define? You have created a component, we are reading the value. Now, we are referring to the values of an attribute. We are referring to the elements, we are referring to the attributes based on, we are referring to the attributes by v dot get or v dot set. Now, okay, attributes are taken. What if you want to take the values from the input components? Now we have seen how to create a component. Some values are passed to attribute. That values we are reading in the UI and performing. What if you want to perform the same? What if you want to perform the same with the UI components? Right? I don't want automatic action. I want to click on a button. Then only action should be performed. I want to click on a button. Then the action should be performed. Now, how to create some UI components? In the Visualforce page, you created input text, input field like this property. Similarly, in the lightning also we have the same. Now what happened? In the lightning, in the initial cases, in the beginning of the lightning, people created UI colon tags. UI colon tags. When you are using the input components using the UI tag, standard CSS is not applied. Lightning CSS is not applied. You only get the boxes. We used to apply CSS externally, but Salesforce has enhanced this component and introduced now lightning colon input. If you are using the component with the lightning colon, automatically lightning CSS is applied. Salesforce Lightning Design System, SLDS. Salesforce Lightning Design System. It is automatically applied on this. Previously, we used to create a UI components with a UI colon tag, UI colon input text, UI colon so and so. Then we used to apply CSS externally by using SLDS. But now Salesforce has introduced Lightning colon components. Now on this component, by default SLDS is applied. So this has simplified your work of designing the UI component and creating CSS externally. Now previously it used to be a big headache. We need to go through all the SLDS and understand how to apply. But now we already have lightning colon means by default lightning CSS is applied. You need not apply it. In case apart from what they are giving, if you want to apply any extra, you can do it. Otherwise, it's not necessary. I hope you got my point. Now, how to create the UI components with these lightning tags? Right. Till now, any query from your end? Everything is good? Everyone has followed? People are good with this? Clear? Okay.
Yes, it is.
Let us go back to the next one. A quick. Because always I am not making any event, automatically handler is called. I don't want the handler to call. I want manual to be, I want to invoke the functions manually. I have buttons. I will click on the button, manually call it. I hope you are good. Okay. So let us see this lightning component. Listen carefully. I told all these components are created with now look at this boss. These are the predefined components. Now I told you previously we had UI, right? Let us say a quick example. I'll go with UI button. Let us look at the example. I'll go to the application straight away. So understand the difference. Don't need all that stuff. I just created UI button, label, click me. Review. We got a button. Is it a lightning button? The lightning button style is going to be different with the blue color and structure. It's not a lightning button. Button is created, but lightning SLDS is not applied. So we need to manually, externally apply the corresponding SLDS to get the look and feel. That is how we felt the lightning is very complex. Even today is complex. But as you are learning lightning, I should not say that. Now, The lightning look and feel we are not getting. If you want to get that look and feel, I am applying here. Look at it. Same functionality. Lightning button. Click me. Right. Now what happened? This is the format of lightning, right? So what happened? Built-in. Already they have got a component with the built-in CSS applied on this. That is how we are getting that lightning component with the built-in CSS. If you are going with the UI colon, you are getting the functionality, but if you want to get the look and feel, you have to manually apply it. So now we are replacing that UI colon with the lightning. Now if anywhere, if old project you are working, still that code will be on UI. To understand that, I may give a couple of examples, but now we are going to design everything with the lightning. Right. If you are referring to any old code, they might have already defined with the UI colon. So to understand that, I may give quick reference to the components. But today, the design has become simple with a lightning component. We are supposed to use lightning colon. I hope you are good with this example. Okay. Now, let us start with the first one. What is the first topic was? Lightning button. What is the purpose of this? This is used to create button on properties. What are the properties or attributes of this component? Go back to this. Listen carefully, boss. No. Lightning buttons we are creating. Now, let us go with the attributes what we have. Body of the component. Then tab index. What is the purpose of tab index? On focus, on blur. That we can check it out later. Title. What is the purpose of the title? When you keep a cursor on this, what is the message you are getting? Interfaces. When you keep a button on this, what is the message you are getting? Events. So that is called a title. When you keep the cursor tip on the element, what is the message you want to display? That is called title. Name. If you want to give name for the button element, it is not the name printed. For this button, we can give a name to refer to it later. So name of the button element. Value. When you submit the form, what is the value you want to submit? Value. When you click on the button, what is the action that should be performed? When you click on the button, what is the action? Now we look at this. Label. What should be displayed on the button? Variant. The variants will be different format. Let me show you the variants. When I say variants, this is the button with the base. Variant base. No borders. Only the label is printed. Now, neutral. Border will come, but no background. Brand action. The blue color. Destructive. Red. Success. Okay, green. This is what? Variant. The button should be displayed with what variant? Is a base, neutral, brand action, destructive or success. Then go with next what we have? Icon name. In case on the button, you want to give any icon? You want to give icon? Then we can go with Then icon position. Icon position should be left or right. Then now we have icon position disabled. Then we can give type. We can specify is the buttons are values are button, reset, submit. The default action will come back. So all these are what? Aerial automatic. This all will take a lot of time for you. Right. Basically, what are the things that we need to understand? Title, name, value, label, variant. Title, name, value, label, variant, icon name, icon position. icon name and icon position. These are the standard functionalities which we need to understand. So what are the attributes? First one we have, when we keep cursor, tooltip on the button, message that should be displayed is called, then we have label. Title that should be displayed on the button. Then what is the value? When we click on the button, what is the action? When an event occurs, when an event occurs on the button, what is the action that should be performed? Performed is defined. What is the client side action? Defined as value. Then we had name. If you want to define a name, you can give it as. Then fifth one, variant. What is the variant? Different structures, variant. Allowed values are default value is neutral, right? Icon name, in case if you want to use icon like top button, bottom button, arrow marks will be there, right? Now you'll be finding arrow marks, down arrow mark, up arrow mark, or setup symbol will be there. Setup symbol are there. That if you want to use, you'll go with icon name. Icon name. This defines icon names that should be used is from lightning design then next one, icon position. Possible values are left, right. Icon position, this will specify position of the icon with respect to body. What are the possible values? Possible values are left and obviously default value is going to be left. Right. So let me give an example of it. So what is the variant? Base, neutral, brand, destructive, inverse, success. Lightning, button, label, button, lightning, button, label, neutral. Let me take it to avoid some typo errors. I just copying from here. Neutrals, just to avoid the typo errors, I'm just copy pasting it. This is brilliant. Then we have lightning, button, label, icon, name, and what is the next one we have? Icon, position. Where was that? Lightning button found NING. Then lightning's the typo error. N I have given first. Lightning is the first. Then, if you want SLDS to be applied on this, if you want the standard CSS of lightning should be applied, then we have to give extends force SLDS. I have to give extends force SLDS. If I don't use this term, if I don't use this term, you will not get the structure. If you want the lightning structure to come, we are supposed to use extends force SLDS. Have a preview. This is how we got it. I hope you got, we got an icon here. Here also we got an icon, down symbol. Okay. Now buttons. Now these all are basic. This is a base, neutral, inverse is what? The background will be dark. We can highlight that. Okay. Now destructive, success, icon, and icon position. I told right side, so we got here left. So basic structure is clear. Lightning buttons. Lightning button. This is how we are going to create a buttons on the lightning with the proper lightning look and feel. I hope you are good with this. Clear? Right, boss? Okay. So take some break and come back. We'll continue.